This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
Welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our studios in beautiful Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Toll-free worldwide, 1-800-610-7035. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com, and our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. My guest this hour is Corey Washington, and Corey is a middle school studies teacher currently teaching at Tutt Middle School in Richmond County, Augusta, Georgia. He holds both a bachelor's and master's degree in middle grades education from Augusta State University. Born in New York City in 1976, Corey has grown up in a multicultural, racial melting pot. In the mid-1980s, he moved to Aiken, South Carolina, and ever since 1992, he has lived in Augusta, Georgia, and considers it a perfect fit. His love for history has spurred his love for writing. Other hobbies includes playing and watching basketball, blogging for various websites, including Examiner.com, BenHassan.com, and OpposingViews.com. He loves fishing, and above all, reading the Bible every day. Joining us now from Augusta, Georgia, is Corey Washington. Hey, Corey, welcome to the X-Zone.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks for having me on the X-Zone.
It's great having you with us, buddy. Hey, listen, Corey, we're going to be talking about immigration and racism today, and I was wondering if you could tell us before we go to our break in about 2 minutes, why immigration is such a touchy issue these days.
Well, I guess a lot of it has to do with the way the media portrays it, which the general public looks at immigration as being solely a Mexican problem, and a lot of the Mexicans that are here legally, feel that they're being picked on, or there's racial profiling, and it's a very touchy subject because we've had problems with racial profiling before in this country, so a lot of people don't want to see us go back to the old days, if you will.
Tell me, Corey, is it really about race?
Well, that's the thing. I don't know if it's so much, it shouldn't be about race, but the way it's perceived, people just see it as a racial thing because of they feel that, as you are aware, up there in the north, the border's not protected as much. In Canada, they're just focusing on the Mexican border. So that's why it seems like it's such a race issue.
Corey, you and I have to take a 2-minute commercial break. We'll be right back. Thanks very much for joining us. Corey Washington is our special guest. 2 websites, X-Zone Nation, www.plaintalk2010.com. That's www.plaintalk2010.com. And his second website, www.plaintalk2011. That's plaintalk2011. Corey and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break in 2 minutes as the X-Zone continues from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. 1-800-610-7035, worldwide toll-free. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. on MSN Messenger, X-Zone Radio TV at hotmail.com, and our main website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. Hey, don't forget, X-Zone Nation, if you'd like to get your complimentary copy of the X-Chronicles newspaper, just send an email to me at xzoneradiotv.com. We'll send you a link, and the X-Zone store is now open, www.xzonestore.com.
Take a step back in time and discover old Florida cuisine at Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere. Enjoy delicacies such as frog legs, gator tail, catfish, and swamp cabbage, or enjoy the more traditional cuisine like hand-cut Angus steaks, ribs, and seafood. Join us for breakfast with a southern flair featuring sweet potato pancakes, biscuits and gravy, and much more. Planning a party? Marsh Landing's private dining room can accommodate groups from 8 to 80 people. While you're visiting, enjoy the historic pictures, artifacts, and stories that line the walls. Marsh Landing is truly a unique experience. Marsh Landing Restaurant, 44 North Broadway in historic Fellsmere, or visit marshlandingrestaurant.com. Marsh Landing, old Florida cuisine at its best.
Are you interested in the paranormal, ghosts, UFOs, or psychic phenomenon? Join me, Tim Bartley, co-host of Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, coming mid-January 2017 to the XZBN. We will channel spirits live and talk to them, revealing all kinds of amazing information. Spiritual attachments will be found and removed on the show, and so much more. To find out when you can listen to Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, visit www.xzbn.net for listeners on both sides of the veil.
X-Zone Nation, Corey Washington is our special guest. Two websites, www.plaintalk2010.com and plaintalk2011.com. Corey, how does stereotype playing, how does it play a role in the present immigration debate?
Well, if you look at, first off, in the United States anyway, whenever they run a story on illegal immigration, it mainly focuses on Mexicans. We see Mexicans coming across the border, and we know that as far as illegal immigration, that of course the large majority of the perpetrators are Mexican. But at the same time, we know that there are other people who are illegal immigrants from all different races. So it just seems like stereotyping plays a role, because as soon as you think of illegal immigration in the United States, the first thing that pops into people's minds is a Mexican.
But does the present drug problem and the massive amount of illegal immigration that is being done at the Mexican border by Mexicans actually fire this media attention, as well as the new laws that the state of Arizona has implemented?
I would like to think that was a major role in this whole thing, because they have increased the drug trafficking and the violence, and we've gotten to see that side of it as well. I just think that the racial profiling aspect of it is what kind of gets a lot of people unnerved, because of we're accustomed to living a certain way in the United States, and this new law in Arizona is going to challenge, almost like your way of life, so to speak, because we're not used to laws like that so much in the United States.
But what's the difference between this law actually being enacted and allowing every police officer or peace officer in the state to ask for proof of citizenship, compared to any member of ICE having the federal jurisdiction to ask the same question to anyone within the United States?
Right, that's a good point. If you're in the United States, and if the law is enacted the way it's supposed to be enacted, like you, me, or anybody else is asked for ID, then it probably shouldn't be a problem. The problem is you're just putting a lot on law enforcement to make these close calls, to where if they see a group of Hispanics in a car together, Are they going to stop those Hispanics and shake everybody down? And if those Hispanics just so happen to be here legally, then you can imagine the lawsuits and the things that will pop up.
But wait a second here. Hold on. If you're driving your vehicle and there's a traffic stop, all right, the police officer has reasonable and probable grounds, or let's say there's, your vehicle matches the description of a vehicle that has been seen at the scene of a crime. He stops, he asks you for identification, he runs you through NCIC, you come back negative, he says, "Thank you very much for your cooperation, sir, goodbye." Are you going to sue the cop?
No, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing. Let me paint another scenario.
Sure.
This has happened in the state of New Jersey. There was some problems with racial profiling.
Mm-hmm.
It was shown to be a history of the cops stopping black men in unbalanced numbers, and I think they had a lawsuit against New Jersey for that. So what I'm hoping is that this Arizona immigration law doesn't open them up for the same lawsuits where they go back and they show where an unproportionate amount of Hispanics were stopped and shaken down for ID as opposed to all races. I just hope they learn a lesson from New Jersey, that's all.
All right, so maybe I'm looking at it outside of the box, and I'm saying, well, wait a second, hold on here. If there is a problem with mass numbers of illegal immigrants coming in from Mexico into the United States, they're not going through the proper procedure. They're entering the country illegally. They're a definite drain on certain economies or certain parts of the economy. Isn't it up to the government of the United States and the state itself to do whatever they can within their power, within the law, to stop this?
You're exactly right. The problem is, I think that they're focusing first on an issue that is going to just run them around in a loop. You have to look at the base cause for illegal immigration. They're coming over here to find jobs for a better way of life.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, who's hiring these people? In the United States, there's a debate going on right now as to whether you should be harder on these people that actually hire these people rather than the people that are getting hired. In other words, cut off the source of money, make it harsh for people hiring these ones. And so when they come over here, they know that they're not going to find jobs, and that would cut the source off somewhat. But then there's people that say, okay, we need to protect the border more. So it just seems like there's other ways of doing this, but they just seem to be focusing on the wrong thing first.
Tell me, Corey, you're a teacher. You teach kids in middle school. What do the kids that you teach say about what's going on with as far as the immigration and racism? How is this affecting them?
Well, a lot of them, when they think of illegal immigration, they only think of terms of like Mexicans. They'll mention, there's some Mexicans around my neighborhood. They work at the Mexican restaurant, and they're probably here illegally. So they make general assumptions, and I'm pretty sure they probably get it from their parents and the media. So that's the kind of attitude that I see. It's just lighthearted because they're kids, but at the same time, it just shows that they're just focused on one race of people being here illegally.
What do you think the message is that we're giving our kids right now with this focusing on the U.S.-Mexican border immigration crisis and the law that has now been has been passed in Arizona? What message are they getting?
Well, some of the kids are getting the message that possibly that the illegals that are here, that they're here is solely their fault. Mm-hmm. And the main focus or the blame is placed on the illegal immigrants when the problem is just so much more complex, because there's a reason why so many of these illegal immigrants were allowed to come into this country. It's because somebody benefits, whether it's the corporations or what have you. Somebody is benefiting from having these illegals come over here. So I think the wrong message is being sent to the kids that it's just these illegal immigrants, and it's the anti-immigration flavor that's starting to kick up. That's what's got me worried a little bit.
But when you look at history, Corey, your great country and our country is based on immigration. For God's sake, we're all Western Europeans. We all immigrated from Europe. That's how these countries got started.
Right.
So what are we saying here? That we have to take a different look at the enforcement of the laws on the books? Or do we really need to do something that is more practical? And if so, in your opinion, Corey, what would that be?
You use the key word there, practical, because rounding up all illegals in this country, it's never going to happen. Let's just be realistic. And if it does, the drain on the financial system, we can't afford that. It's just unrealistic. It's not practical. So what I've heard proposed, which makes sense, is for these people that are here, some people try to call it amnesty, but, I'm not calling it amnesty. These people should pay a penalty. They broke the law. They're here illegally. They should have to pay something. They should get in the back of the line and wait like, the regular, normal people. But as far as sending them out, that's just too easy. We're wasting money sending them out. And then, of course, then you have to focus on the flow of people coming in. But to just focus on these people that are here without focusing so much on the people that are already coming over here to begin with, I think is really impractical.
Corey, here's a hypothetical situation or a hypothetical hypothesis. Is it possible that the government is looking at what is happening between the U.S.-Mexican border as a sign of what could actually happen on both the Pacific coast and the eastern coast if they didn't start enforcing stricter immigration laws and enforcing the laws that they have on the books?
Let's see, so you're saying that if they don't enforce the laws on the books, that we could see an influx of people from the China, Japan, and on the other side, is that what you're saying?
Exactly, and what you'd be doing is you'd be setting a case of jurisprudence. Well, you didn't do that with the Mexican-U.S. border, and yet you're racially you're racially profiling us because we're from Asia, or you're racially profiling us because we're from Africa.
Well, I think that there certainly needs to be a line drawn in the sand, if you will. There certainly needs to be something done to show people that if they come over here illegally, that they are going to get caught, that they are going to, have to pay some sort of price, that it's not just a free ride. But, I think that has not been done yet, and I just think that the laws that are on the books are not sufficient, and they need to just revisit that. That's why people are calling for a comprehensive immigration reform. Because what we have now is just very insufficient, because people are just saying all you got to do is enforce the laws on the books, but that hasn't worked. So we have to do something else.
Is the reason why it hasn't worked because they haven't actually enforced the law, or is it because the law is redundant, it just doesn't work?
I think the reason it hasn't worked, let's just go back to 1954. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but there was something called Operation Wetback, and this was when Eisenhower was president. They aggressively enforced the immigration laws. They went so far as to send people by rail, by ship, and just got them out of the country. It was huge numbers. I mean, it was very aggressive. Well, did that do any good? No, those people or their relatives were back over here. And so, aggressive enforcement of that nature has already been done and it's failed. And you have to ask yourself why. It's because somebody has something to gain from these people being over here.
Yeah.
But when you give all of these people that are here the same status as legal citizens, it takes that advantage away. No longer can they, cutthroat you with your wages. They have to get paid the same as everybody else. So it
Corey,
takes that
we've got to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. Please stand by. Corey Washington's our guest. 2 websites: plaintalk2010.com and plaintalk2011.com. Corey and I return on the other side of the news. Don't go away.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
Exonation Corey Washington is my guest this hour. His websites are www.plaintalk2010.com and plaintalk2011.com. Corey, tell me, what is, in your opinion, the media's role in creating a diverse climate for the immigration debate?
Well, we know that the media a lot of times serves to sensationalize things because of our ratings.
Of course.
And we also know that the reason why, like you said before, they focus in on the Mexican problem is because of the danger of the drug trade and other sources, because it's the most prominent, really. But what I don't see a lot of times is there are other immigration debates going on around the country, because there are other people here that are illegally here that have overstayed their work visa and other various means, but that are of other races. So not saying that they should give that equal treatment, but at least mention some of those other cases to intermittently show people that it's just more than just a Mexican problem.
But don't you think the Mexican government should also take some of the heat for this, for not creating jobs, for not creating an atmosphere within their own country that people would actually want to stay and not want to skip off to the United States? And it seems that we're not looking at entire families that are crossing the U.S. Mexican border, but you're just, in most cases, I believe, you're looking at the head of the family who comes to the United States to work and then sends money back to their families in Mexico.
That's a good idea. I think that you hit the nail on the head right there. I think that even within the Mexican dynamic of the immigration debate or argument, there needs to be more of a balance as far as showing the problems in Mexico and why they're coming over here. Also, these companies that are hiring, why are they hiring? It needs to be balanced there, not just showing Mexican people coming over the border and so forth.
You know, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, if an employer does hire an illegal, whether they are from Canada, whether they're from France, Germany, Austria, Russia, Switzerland, or Mexico, they should also suffer a penalty for hiring someone who is not allowed to work within the United States legally.
That's true. And a lot of times when they do get caught, we hardly ever hear about these people. There was a bust over in South Carolina where they got like a bunch of Mexican illegal immigrants, but then when it came time for the owner of this company, they're nowhere to be found, or they make up excuses. So they always seem to get out of things when it comes to, showing their face on TV.
Tell me, Corey, in your opinion, what challenges has the election of the first African-American president created in terms of race relations?
Well, it's created a awkward situation for some, because we're in uncharted waters. Before, we've always had Caucasian male presidents. So when you criticize the president, it was always seen in one light.
Yes.
But now you have an African-American president, so some of the same criticisms, when they're being charged or leveled, sometimes if you're white, you're kind of antsy about, saying the wrong thing. And even if you're a black person, you're antsy about it because you don't want to be labeled an Uncle Tom or whatever the case may be. So it's just all around the board there.
But do you think there'll ever come a time, Corey, where no matter what race a person is, that will be, it won't be as prevalent as it is today, that we'll understand that people are people, no matter color, race, or creed?
Right. I think that as long as people perceive there to be one race or one culture dominating over another, that, there are going to be some animosity there. But as things level out and you start to see more of an even playing field, I think the arguments, people will start to see that maybe it wasn't really race all along, and maybe it was class, culture, things of that nature.
Race has been written about for years, Corey. How is Plain Talk different than other books on race?
Well, I've read a lot of books on race, and a lot of times they come from different angles, or the person presents themselves as some sort of expert. Well, Plain Talk is not about that. Plain Talk is just exactly what the title says. It's engaging in a conversation just like we're doing now. It's not trying to be an expert on anything. It's setting a basis for educating yourself as to the different slurs and stereotypes of all races, and then it's showing how these things are so hurtful and harmful to people using examples from pop culture, things that everybody knows about.
Do you think if more people were to chat like you and I are chatting right now, and discussed race and immigration without the slurs, without the negativity, without the animosity, that we would be able to circumvent these problems a lot easier than we are now?
It certainly does cause for more intelligent back and forth dialogue. Solutions can be found a lot easier. People are not really getting so emotional that they're not listening to what the other person says. Because, I've heard what you said, you've heard what I said, and I can go back later and think about these things, and who knows, my views may change on certain things.
I think people need to better understand and respect each other. I think respect is a big problem, not only when it comes to within our own countries, but around the world, especially when it comes to traditions and different religious philosophies.
Right, that's a good observation.
Tell me, why has the Tea Party movement become more about race when so many people are saying it's not about race?
Right, I've questioned that. I've even had an opportunity to attend a local Tea Party rally that they've had here in Augusta, Georgia. And one thing that strikes you automatically is the lack of diversity. It's not just all white. It's just, a lot of the majority of the people are older white people. It's not really even a lot of young people there in general. And people see that, and then they see that combined with the signs, the rhetoric, the T-shirts with Obama as a communist. And, some of the signs just kind of cross the line a little bit. And once they see, okay, here it is, this collection of one, monolithic group here, coming up with this rhetoric, then they just automatically assume racism. It's hard to, combat that image, so to speak.
What was it like within the Tea Party meeting?
Well, when I kind of went in there, I kind of was looking around and just observing. You could see a few people kind of looking at me, kind of wondering why I was there. Nobody really bothered me too much, but you can see how a lot of people would feel uncomfortable in that situation. And a lot of people of color were on the outside kind of looking in, and before I went in, they would express, some sort of angst or, not anger, but just kind of irritation that these people were here, and why are they starting this now? That was kind of their theme, Why didn't they start this when George Bush was president? So I think you're always going to have that element.
Tell me, in your opinion, Corey, is racism really on the rise?
Well, I've kind of thought about it, and it seems like my views change on that from month to month sometimes, because we know that race has certainly flared up. Sometimes it is because we have a high-profile African-American president where people are focused on race even more now. And so when something happens, it's a big news item. We still see some of the same things going on that has gone on for so long, like this cop in Philadelphia shot himself and blamed a black man. So it's like, I don't know if it's on the rise, but you can still see a lot of it is still at the same level, so to say.
Does it really matter what race the President of the United States is? He's the President. He was put in the White House by the people, and he serves the people. So why should race play any significance talking about the President or any other member of the great United States or Canada or any other country? Why don't we just leave race out of it?
It shouldn't matter, but as you know, everybody doesn't think the same. And I think, to be honest, race sells. And that's probably part of the problem. When I constantly talk about the media, because a lot of people get their images and what they think about other races based solely on the media, whether it's radio, TV, or movies, or books. And so I charge the media with a heavy responsibility in, showing different sides, and so that people don't think that all people are like this, because as we all know, there's always some truth to stereotypes, but the problem is when you just put a blanket assessment on everybody.
Yeah, the old saying in the media is, if it don't bleed, it don't lead.
Right.
And unfortunately, the mainstream media, or the majority of it, it bases its listeners, its viewers, its readers based on sensationalism, not reality.
Right. And sometimes it's real subtle. It doesn't have to be in your face, but when you get a constant barrage of African-American males on TV shooting, robbing, raping, or whatever, and we know that a lot of these things have other reasons behind it, such as poverty and so forth, people can get in their mind that the stereotypical criminal is with the face of is a black male, and that's very unfortunate, and that's a very dangerous stereotype.
What patterns as far as race crimes do you see repeating themselves? And if you could, please be as specific as possible.
One of the things, the patterns that I've been watching is, I've alluded to earlier, committing a crime and covering over your tracks by saying this imaginary black guy did it. We saw it with the cop in Philadelphia. Susan Smith was another case in South Carolina where she killed her kids, dumped them in the river, and said a black guy carjacked and took the kids. Charles Stewart was another case in Boston where he shot his pregnant wife and tried to collect insurance and said a black guy did it, and they went through the neighborhood and shook everybody down and really caused a lot of racial animosity. And it's just amazing that people could just, say, hey, a black guy did it. I mean, obviously they're using stereotypes for their advantage, but I've seen that as a crime that fits a pattern. And then there was a case in Texas, James Byrd Jr., Jasper, Texas, where he was killed and drugged behind a truck. Well, they just had another case in Anderson, South Carolina, where a white guy shot a black guy and tied him up behind a truck and drugged him the same way. And so, people see things that other people do and try to copy them, and it's just unfortunate that, there are those type of people in the world, and that's just the way it is, it seems like.
But, there's good and bad everywhere. Geez, I wish people could just understand or take the colored glasses off for a little while and see people for people, because there's good and bad in all races, in all nationalities. People aren't born to be negative or to be bad, for goodness sake. What will it take? What do you think, if you were to be responsible for bringing people together, what would be your 3 top priorities, Corey?
I think that the first thing would be, I think that we're sorely lagging behind in the social department. I think there needs to be more avenues, whether it's town hall meetings, seminars, or something, to bring people together and just to to have them discuss the differences that they have in an intelligent way, and to just understand one another. We can't force people to go out and have a beer or a drink together, but to just get the dialogue started, just so if anything else, that you at least understand more where this person is coming from. And I think that would be big, just to have that.
Yeah.
I think the media certainly needs to be retrained in certain areas, because they're still doing some of the old things, and they just keep doing it over and over to flare up racism. And those are really my two biggest things that pop up into my mind. And maybe just the police force being retrained to try to, when they encounter certain situations, okay, this is what we did in the past.
Yeah.
This hasn't worked, and this is what we can do now.
Tell me, do you see racism in schools?
Yes, actually this year I have several cases where either a white kid called a black kid the N-word, and they got into a scuffle, or even black kids using the N-word around other white kids, and then the white kid uses it and they get mad. So those are the two most common instances that I see.
Hey, Corey, stand by. You and I have to take our final break for this hour. Exonation, our special guest this hour is Corey Washington. And there's two websites for Corey, www.plaintalk2010.com and www.plaintalk2011.com. Corey Washington and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break as the X Zone continues from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the Talkstar Radio Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, UK High Definition Radio, Euro High Definition Radio, and Star Cable. We'll be back after this break. Don't go away.
18 Sergeant Central. 19 Sergeant check. Officers on the scene.
Hi, I'm Larry Lawson, host of Paranormal Stakeout. With over 36 years in law enforcement, I have learned a few things. The most important is the proper gathering and preservation of evidence is vital to putting the bad guy behind bars. It's no different in the world of paranormal investigation. Whether it's the search for the afterlife, cryptozoology, UFOs, and extraterrestrials, how we gather the evidence, preserve that evidence, and present it to a jury of our peers will make the ultimate difference in proving the existence of worlds and entities that are beyond our imagination. Join me, Larry Lawson, every week on Paranormal Stakeout when, along with my guests, we'll take a journey to prove with indisputable evidence what man has struggled to believe for centuries. Go to xzbn.net for the broadcast schedule and check me out at paranormalstakeout.com.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. X Zone Nation, Corey Washington's my special guest. Two great websites, plaintalk2010.com and plaintalk2011.com. First of all, Corey, thanks very much for joining us. Great talking to you. I love the way you think, my friend. And you know what? We will make it one day where race will not be a problem. I have a lot of faith in people. I have a lot of faith in the way we're going to evolve. Yeah, we've all made mistakes in the past, but I believe we need to bury the mistakes, respect each other for who we are, respect our cultures, respect our traditions, and respect our religions.
Right, and also remember that there are always going to be people out there that are going to be agitators on all sides.
Exactly. Hey, listen, where can we find out more about you and where can we get your books?
Well, for the people in Canada, I'm on Amazon.com. I'm on all of the webs, the Borders, Books A Million, And also, if you go to any search engine, just type in Plain Talk, Corey Washington, and I'm sure a whole bunch of things familiar to your area will pop up.
So I guess the best place to go is Amazon.com.
Right. Amazon is probably all over Canada, United
it
States,
sure
and
is.
everywhere.
Hey, Corey, what's your next project?
Well, I'm kind of looking to get the green light on it, but I'm kind of want to do something with my favorite artist, which is Jimi Hendrix.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right. I want to come with a book that kind of gets people thinking outside the box, because he was just so much more than just a traditional rock musician. So I want to branch out and expand his base, if you will.
You know, he's one of my favorite musicians.
Me too.
In fact, it was Hendrix who got Chicago going because he took them on tour.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I love music. I'm a bit of a music buff. In fact, right behind me, in a beautiful frame, is one of the original posters from Woodstock. So I go way back. Hey, listen, Corey, I love the way you think, my friend. Keep out there for us, because it's people like you with the way you think that's going to help bring all this stuff to a level where people will start respecting each other. So thanks very much for joining us, and give our listeners your websites one more time.
The website is, for Volume 1, is www.plaintalk2010.com, and then for Volume 2 is www.plaintalk2011.com. And then, of course, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Borders, and so forth.
Corey, take care of yourself. Hope that we have the pleasure of talking to you again in the future.
Thank you so much, Rob.
It's been my great pleasure. Take care, partner. Excellent Nation, once again, Corey Washington has been our guest this hour. I love the way this man thinks. Two websites, www.plaintalk2010.com and www.plaintalk2011.com. And his books are available on Amazon.com. When I come back from this commercial break, on the other side of the news at 6.5 minutes past, more of the X Zone as we continue. Where? Right here. Right around the world from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. 1-800-610-7035. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. And for all your Paragators merchandise, all your X Zone merchandise, and all your X Chronicles merchandise, www.xzonestore.com. We'll be back on the other side of the news. Don't go away.